Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Jay Holmes Racer. This is the home of all things Btcc. Today I'm going to go through my review of Oulton Park. I'm going to do my usual, go through every single driver as I have been. I'm trying to rush some of these and try to make the video short, but I think I'm just gonna go through my thoughts on each driver's weekend. Some I'll expand more on than I need to. Other ones will be quite quick. But I'll give myself a bit of time before I do this. So it's more than a week since Oulton Park. I was there live in person. If anyone did see my last video and looked for the Instagram videos, I just couldn't put Instagram videos on my story. They kind of forget that Oulton Park has terrible signal, so couldn't get anything much up on Instagram. But I'm glad I gave a bit of a delay to doing this video because the driving standards, to be honest, was pretty shocking from the racing, and that's not just the Btcc, it was all championships. They were there that weekend, and the incidents kind of went amiss as well. There's no penalties given for a lot of the incidents. I was quite frustrated coming away from that weekend, especially when I went live. First time I've been to a race in 2 years, to see that. If I'd done the review last week, I think there would have been a lot more frustration in it. Gotta give myself a week before I decided to do this. But my hope is going to Knockhill next weekend, or this weekend, sorry, that those driving standards will improve a little bit. If you want to see preparation, now we do like a bit of banging and stuff like that, little people dive up the inside, but it was a lot of just hitting each other. There wasn't really some contact. You kind of got that fair contact to make a move, but some of it was just straight up hitting other cars, and that's not what we want to see, and it's quite dangerous. So hopefully this weekend we will get so cleaner racing at Knockhill. So let's get into this, and I will go through each driver as I normally do, and give my thoughts on their weekend. So I will start off as usual with the team BMW. Colin Turkington managed to pick up 12 points. So another pretty poor weekend from Turkington. Qualified 9th, went off Cascades first lap, went off with Sutton. Kind of went, I don't know if you showed it on cameras, but it went a bit unnoticed. Didn't really talk about the fact Turkington and Sutton both went off. Lost a lot of places, went down the grid. And Colin did eventually get some places back, finished 18th, 12th and 8th, but that was still a poor weekend from Turkington. He had some regular weekends at Oulton Park, and I expected a lot more, but then again he goes to Knockhill now, which is a traditional rear-wheel drive track with very little weight after finishing 9th. It being 9th in the championship now, so you expect a little bit more from Turkington. It's been pretty poor from Tom Oliphant, who had a disaster of a weekend really after a great weekend at Brands. Qualified 14th, wasn't doing too bad race one, and unfortunately had that incident with Plato dive up the inside of him, spun round. Still can't quite tell looking at it a few times who is at fault, if anyone. Spun round, unfortunately Smiley collected them as he spun, and then Rick Poff hit him as well. He was out the race, couldn't start race 2, managed to get up to P14 for race 3. Picked up just 2 points. That's his worst weekend of the season, unfortunately, for Tom. So what was such a good weekend at Brands, unfortunately suffered down to 12th in the championship. On the other side, for Team BMW though, they had Stephen Jelly, who managed to qualify 8th, finished 5th, 7th and 2nd. That is actually Jelly's first podium this season, picked up a big 37 points. So a big weekend for him. The weird thing is for Team BMW, it seems to be only one car each weekend has a good weekend, and this one it was Stephen Jelly. He does traditionally go quite well at Oulton Park, does at Knockhill as well, so that'll be interesting to see. He gets him up to 10th in the championship. So yeah, a very different weekend for all the BMW drivers for different reasons. Jelly seemed to be the only one with a bit of pace. Turkington obviously went off race 1, didn't really recover, and often had a big crash in race 1 and to start race 2 and struggled from there. But wasn't quite the rear-wheel drive dominated weekend that we were expecting. Moving on to the Lazy Tools Infinities now. Obviously champion Ash Sutton first, qualified 10th, which wasn't too bad with maximum ballast. Finished race 1 14th, so he obviously went off at Cascades with Turkington. I think he pitted at one point as well, perhaps to get some grass, taking out the radiator. Benefited from the red flag and the restart that came from Oliphant incident, and actually got off to 14th, so he actually pitted, was behind Turkington from the restart, managed to then catch up to the grid and get ahead of Turkington again. It was P8 in race 2, so not a bad race 2 for him, and got a front row start for race 3 thanks to the reverse grid. But unfortunately contact on the second restart of race race number 3, so we'll come back to the incident at the start of race 3 in a minute as well. Broke the race suspension, and that was him out. 10 points for Ash Sutton. The lowest he's had before that is 36. That's how bad this weekend was, but somehow he still comes away first in the championship. I think he'll be looking to put this weekend behind him a little bit. I think Knockhill should go quite well, even with the weight again. It is a traditional rear-wheel drive track. We'd expect him to pick up a bit more pace there. Aidan Muffet, I think, had a brilliant weekend. So he qualified 12th, had a 6th, 5th and 4th. So progressively over the weekend going higher. 34 points, the most points he's had this season. That brings him up to 11th in the championship. Very steady, just carried on, got on with the job, kept himself out of trouble. So that is a good weekend from Aidan Muffet. No way going to Knockhill rear-wheel drive track, so he could have a good weekend there. We had Bally, who qualified P19, had a pair of P11s, which was his highest finishing position in any race this season. So that's his first points since Thruxton, first race weekend of the season. And DNF in race 3 had that big incident. Apparently, it was some sort of brake fail where he went flying off and took out Butcher with him. Unfortunately, looking like both drivers were okay. Could have been a lot worse, but another red flag that did. And give Bally 10 points for the weekend, which is his best total for a single weekend. And hopefully goes to Knockhill rear-wheel drive track. He should go even better there. Would be even obviously would have been more points had he not had that instant race 3. But overall, not too bad for him. Moving on to the Motorbase. Speedworks Toyotas. So we had Rory Butcher qualified 3rd, finished race 1 in 4th, got the win in race 2, sorry. And race 3 had a DNF off the 4th, should have been taken out by Bally. Decent weekend for Butcher, 34 points. He's got 8th in the championship now. That race win, that's his first win of the season. So that was, it looks like it would have been a very big haul of points of Butcher. 34 is not too bad, but would have been even better if he hadn't, unfortunately, been taken out in race 3. Goes to Knockhill now, tracking knows really well. Expect him to go faster. Not too much weight, 8th in the championship either. So let's see how he goes there. And Sam Smells, he qualified P15, it's his highest of the season. No, before that was 23rd. So that should have been really well. Didn't seem to get a great start, and for some reason he went off when Turkington Sutton did in race 1 as well, and he just seems to continually get caught up in incidents. Finished 23rd, 19th and 18th in the other races. So just seemed to have a poor weekend overall for him for some reason. Moving on to the 4 Highlanders now. So Tom Ingram didn't get out and qualify and had an issue. So basically didn't qualify. He started right from the back, so he didn't have a time, 29th. Managed to get enough up to 19th in race 1. So even with Turkington Sutton going off, I think thanks to the restart as well, they both then got past him. So Ingram just didn't have a lot of pace. I think it might have been a weight in the car as well. Race 2, managed to finish 10th, that wasn't too bad. Got the fastest lap as well, so seemed to have a bit more pace in there. And then race 3, I'm not sure what happened. He went in the pits at some point. Didn't really see why, even on the TV coverage. And came back out and only finished 21st. But did get another fastest lap, so it wasn't too bad. Only picked up 8 points all weekend. In contrast, his worst weekend other than that was 27 points at Thruxton. Somehow, Sutton with a poor weekend and still a 2nd in the championship, only a few points behind Sutton. So luckily for both of them, look at that as poor weekends and somehow come away not in too bad a shape at all. Chris Smiley qualified 20th, so didn't have a great qualifying. It wasn't doing too bad in race 1, but unfortunately DNF'd. He unfortunately got caught up in the Orphan incident, Orphan spun, and Smiley's one of the next cars to come out and just couldn't avoid them, smashed straight into him. Somehow got back out for race 2, managed to get 14th, that wasn't bad, got himself back on the points. And then race 3, managed to get 10th, so that wasn't too bad. The point would have been a better weekend for Smiley had he not. There was a bit of pace in that hand drive, by the looks of it. I did that DNF for race 1, he would have been higher for race 2. And in race 3, obviously, he might have even had a chance of getting somewhere higher from over the first grid. So a bit unlucky there for Smiley, but not a bad weekend. On the base of it, the fact he didn't finish race 1 and how smashed up the car was after race 1 wasn't too bad. Jack Butel qualified 27th, so pretty low again. Finished race 1 20th, and then race 2 17th, so that's his highest of the season. Race 2, so it wasn't too bad. And race 3, unfortunately, got caught up in that incident at the start of the race. DNF, his first DNF of the season. ever since Jack's come into the championship, he's had a good run of not getting DNFs and things like that, but unfortunately got caught up. Nothing he could really do about the incident, and that was him out. Still one of those few drivers still yet to score any points in the championship. And other teammate Vic Parfit qualified P24, again DNF race 1. He's the other car who hit Elephant to the iron dice, hit him. He had a P23 in race 2 and a 19th in race 3. I think he got caught a little bit in that incident at the start of race 3, but obviously got red flagged. He managed to get himself back around and start again. But yet again, he is another one of those drivers who hasn't scored points. To consider Ingram's second in the championship, you'd hope at some point Parfit and Butler will at least be able to pick up 1 point somewhere to be on total with Ingram. I'm sure it will come at some point, but just wasn't this weekend for them at Oulton Park. So next we move on to the team dynamics. Halfers Racing with Caster Clean Hondas. They were pretty much a standout team and drivers' car, whatever, of the weekend. So Shedden qualified P2 and finished P2 with the fastest lap in race 1. Was pretty much dominating the race until the red flag. Pretty much going to run away with it. Unfortunately, the red flag meant it was a restart. And Rory Butcher beat him off the start and unfortunately finished second. That probably should have been a win for Shedden Ray, would have been his first win of the season. But it was podium, it was all the same. Finished P6 in race 2 and P3 in race 3. So we did get 2 podiums there. That was a really solid weekend for Shedden. 44 points, that's where you'd expect Shedden more to be, what we've been waiting for. That's double his best weekend so far. When he got 22 at Snetterton, he's pulled himself up all the way up to 6th in the championship. So really back in the hunt now. And those Highlander, especially the Dynex ones, look super quick. And then you look at Robot, even better. Qualified P4, managed to win race 1. I said Shedden was dominating the race really. Race 1, went to the red flag and let off a restart, and that gave Robot the chance to get Shedden off the line. And he managed to hold on and win the race. Race 2, finished second with maximum ballast. That's a super effort from Dan Rowbottom. Obviously, he's one of the Jack Sears drivers, and I said the Jack Sears drivers will get at least a podium. Rowbottom's had 2 fourths, he's had a third, a second, and a win. That's a super effort from a Jack Sears driver, and he got P6 in race 3. 48 points, the best of the weekend, and he's got himself all the way up in 3rd in the championship, only 12 points behind Ash Sutton. I will believe I'm correct on that. Let's double check. I don't want to give him misinformation. Yeah, 12 points behind Ash Sutton. There's no reason why he can't actually get in that fight, because I didn't have the Hondas to be that quick at the start of the season, but they've clearly got a lot of pace. And Robot in particular he's got lots of momentum now and full of confidence. Why can't he get more wins and podiums to go with that? Moving on to the car gods with Sicily BMWs. Tom Chilton, another weekend, there just wasn't much there. Qualified P22, had a 17th, a 13th and a 9th. 9th is his best finish overall the season now. That's the 4th weekend of the season, and saying 9th is the best for Tom Chilton. I might say Ingram there, I didn't mean Chilton, I'm afraid. 9th, only 10 points all weekend. But that's his best weekend of the season. That's how shocking of a season so far Chilton's had, unfortunately. But it was just a little bit better, and there's a rear-wheel drive on Knockhill next, and no way he might be able to do a little bit better there. And Adam Morgan, again, like Robot, seems to be driving full confidence with momentum. Qualified P6, had a pair of P3s, so 2 podiums in race 1 and 2, and a P5 in race 3. 41 points, he's dragged himself all the way up to 5th in the championship now. So another driver well within the championship hunt after another good weekend. That's his best weekend of the season again as well. So super effort on that one. Next we have the Powermax Voxels, a team and a car I expected a lot more from. Played it unqualified 18th. He managed to get P7 in race 1. So involved that into with Oliphant from the restart. He managed to get a super restart. It got past quite a few cars up to 7th. Then dropped to 18th in race 2. Not sure what happened there. Didn't really show what. And race 3 he was only 13th. Only 12 points overall really. So after what was pretty bad start in qualifying, to start P7, I thought going forwards from that he would get some good results, but just kind of slipped back. Only 13th in the championship now. It just hasn't been going the same way as it was for Plato first weekend of the season. Yeah, it just wasn't the weekend I expected from the Voxels. And the same with Dan Lloyd, qualified P16, finished 13th, 21st and 11th, only getting 8 points. Just a poor weekend overall for some reason for the Voxels. We haven't got on to the fours now, and the MB Motorsport ones first. So we've got Jake Hill qualified 7th and finished 8th, 4th and 7th, 30 points in total, keeps him well within, just trying to catch back up to Sutton and Ingram. After the poor weekend, he did manage to do that. 4th in the championship now, Jake Hunt well within the title fight. He had not two great weekends at Brands and Snetterton, so Oulton Park really catching back up from what he got at Thuxton. Ollie Jackson had a weird weekend for him, qualified P17 and finished 12th, finished P26 in race 2 after an incident, looked like a bit of an incident going through the hairpin, and I think Proctor maybe gave him a nudge, pushed him out wide, and then Proctor came up the other side, Goff followed Proctor through, and then Cook gave maybe Jackson a little bit of a push, that's pushed him around, he hit the back of Goff. He certainly hit the back of Goff, he wiped Goff out completely, which I'll come back to in a minute, but I'm not quite sure the full instance. I tried to watch it a few times, and I said this weekend it was just so much hits here and there, so I tell which ones where some camera angles you can't quite tell. It just looked like Proctor knocked him a bit wide going into the corner, Proctor might just side up the inside, Goff was trying to follow Proctor through, and on the exit a little bit of push and shoving from Cook and Jackson. Jackson went round, hit Goff, and they both, I think they both finished in the end, but they were well down in the end, a few laps behind, and then only 17th in race 3 as well. 4 points in total for Jackson, because compared to his 26th at Snetterton, it's just not really, he's really fell down the order since then. Sam Osborne, P11, best qualifying of the season for him, that's good, but then he finished P24, so it looks like he had some incidents. You just need to try and keep out of trouble a little bit there. I think Sam, he did manage to get 15th in race 2, and then didn't finish in race 3. He was involved in the incident at the start. It looked like he was pushed wide by Smiley onto the grass, which spun him around. He was flying down the grass towards Cascades. I think a lot of cars kind of saw him, to be fair. Tried to slow him. There was a bit of some of the cars right towards the back didn't quite see it, and they all smashed into each other. It's just a bit unfortunate, really. I don't think there's a lot of Osborne could do. He was a bit of a passenger in it all, but it's just a bit unfortunate to see. I think there's about 5 cars who got taken out in the end, and most of them were just, I think most of them saw Osborne coming, tried to stop, and cars just tripped over each other because they couldn't go anywhere. But that was Osborne's first point since Thuxton. Another driver managed to pick up a point. He's had a couple of poor weekends, but managed to pick one up there. Because he's really done better after starting P11, but just kind of fell away. And then Andy Neat qualified P28, but was apparently ill. Apparently he's had COVID over the 5-week period between Brands and Oulton Park. I'm still feeling the effects of it, although he's had negative tests. So come Sunday, didn't actually race, didn't get involved at all. At the time of filming this, so this is the Tuesday before Knockhill. We've had the news today that Paul Rivett will take Andy's seat at the next 2 rounds at Knockhill and Thuxton. So Andy's had a bit of an in and out season. So as he was there at Thuxton, had that big incident. Jess Hawkins took over at Snetterton, came back at Brands, and didn't see a lot of him. And then at Oulton Park, he didn't start any of the races after qualifying pretty much right at the back. Like Ingram behind him, and Ingram also didn't set a time, and he's pulled out for the next 2 rounds. So I hope Andy gets well soon. Whatever people's opinions are on some of the incidents Andy's been involved in the past, doesn't matter here. Obviously he's poorly at the moment, so hopefully he gets well soon. So moving on to my favourite team now, and my favourite man, Jack Goff. He qualified P5, which was awesome to see. That's the best any of the Coopers have been this season. They look great. Finally finished P10 in race 1. He just kept seeming to get battered. People kept just bumping him. It didn't look great. In race 2, it looked like he was trying to make a bit of progress. He looked like he was following Proctor through up the inside of Cook and Jackson to come up the hairpin. And unfortunately, as Jackson came round, he absolutely took out Goff's rear end and took them pretty much out of the race. I think they both got going again. Goff went in the pits and then did come out and managed to circulate, but it was about 4 laps behind at the end, so it's pretty terrible. Race 3, he actually got a really good start from the initial start. I saw him again about a good 5 or 6 places off the start, which was looking really good for him. Coming down into Cascades, obviously the Osborne incident, a lot of people trying to stop up and avoid it. And unfortunately, he ended up more towards the outside, which meant so he got blocked up. And as he tried to go around, he did get hit a little bit as well. But luckily, it didn't knock him out, so the restart. But he only managed to finish 16th. So no points in that one, 6 points in total. Obviously, he's now lost his run of scoring points in every single race. I did forget to mention that with Sutton before. He's also lost his. He lost it in the last race. So all drivers gone from that now. But Goff's unfortunately not scored points in 2 races. And that puts him all the way down in 14th in the championship. Goes to Knockhill, no weight, but it's not a track he's traditionally gone well at. The VW was pretty poor last year. I think he might have actually been the only one running it after some incidents with the other 2 VWs at Oulton Park last year. Also, a tight turnaround schedule. So hopefully the Cooper goes a little bit better and there's a bit less incidents. Jack can have a good weekend. I think he's only ever 1 podium there, and that was back in 2016, the BMW. So hopefully he can pick up a bit better there. We had Jack Mitchell, who stepped in for Glenn Geddy. Jack's in for the rest of the season now. For using 2 Jacks and those Coopers. P25, he had the full weight for qualifying race 1 as new driver weight. Finished P22, which was matching what the best of Geddy's actually had in that car this season. He had P22 in race 2 as well, and then DNF in race 3. He was one of the ones involved in an incident on lap 1 of race 3. It looked like he tried to stop up to avoid the incident. I think he unfortunately got hit up the rear, and they might have actually been hit by Hamilton, unfortunately, his own teammate. But Jack will not have that weight going into Knockhill, so hopefully we'll see it a bit quicker from him. Taylor Smith, very quiet weekend, P21 in qualifying, so it wasn't a great qualifying. Then he had 2 16ths and a 15th, so managed to pick up 1 point in the end. So it's kind of just stayed on that edge of the points kind of area all weekend. Didn't see a lot of him. But it's a bit of a surprise. I thought might have saw a bit more from Taylor Smith so far, but we haven't really. And I've got Hamilton qualified P26, which is actually his best qualifying so far this season. It might have been helped by Ingram not qualifying. It didn't start race 1 though, had an issue with the car. I think it was a fuel, something to the fuel, I think it was, I believe. I'm not totally sure. But managed to get off race 2 and finished P24, and then was part of that incident on lap 1 of race 3 and DNF'd. Again, no points for Nick, but hopefully he's not been too far from in a couple of races, but we do need to see him push up a little bit more soon. Josh Cook, wasn't a good weekend again for him, similar to Goff really. Qualified P13 and qualified P13, sorry, and finished P15 in race 1. P27 in race 2, involved in a few incidents. He got a bit of damage as well, I think. I'm not sure if he actually did finish. He might have been either a few laps down or he stopped in the pits. And then 12th in race 3 meant he only got 5 points. He's dropped all the way down to 7th in the championship now. It's definitely his worst weekend, only 5 points. I suppose the 15 of a weekend. So struggled unfortunately really. The track the Hondas, especially the Dynamics one, seemed to go well. So that's unfortunate for him. Senna Proctor, on the other hand, had a great weekend. So he qualified on pole actually, which was a little bit of a surprise. But it showed the strength of the Honda, and he dropped away to the 9th though in race 1. 9th again in race 2 as he involved. He wasn't quite involved the same, but he was around Goff at the time of the incident with Jackson and Cook. But he got a reverse grid pole, and then he managed to keep hold of that. Did unfortunately have an incident race 1 where he made contact with Sutton, which damaged Sutton's car. But anyway, other than that, he held on and won the race. That's 36 points he picked up. He actually beats the 30 the Camish picked up at Thruxton in the same car. So I guess it was to 16th in the championship, which is not at all too bad. Proctor seems to have got onto that now, so let's see if he can keep up with the other Hondas on that. And Jade Edwards, she had a P23, qualified P23, sorry, and a P20, finished P21 and 2 P20s. No points unfortunately for Jade, but she was unfortunately a bit caught up in that Osborne incident as well. Managed to get away with it though, and carry on racing, but didn't manage to do much other than that, I'm afraid. And so that is my quick look at Oulton Park. I do pretty much just go through the results, but I do try and give it a little bit of a my opinions in the description on each driver, so that's how we go with that. So wasn't an entertaining weekend. I came away from pretty disappointed. I don't know if it was because I was live, but it wasn't great to watch, I don't think. So I'm hoping this weekend at Knockhill we'll see some more clean racing. We didn't mind a little bit of contact, a little bit of bumping and stuff like that, but it was just constant. It just seemed more like bumper cars than actual racing. We want to see people make clean moves, not bumping people all day trying to make moves. And apparently a lot of drivers complaining it wasn't just in corners trying to unsettle them, stuff like that. It was getting bumped going in a straight line just for no reason. There's no winners. People caught behind them rather than pulling to the side, trying to look for an overtake, just kept bumping the car in front of them, which is not what we want to see. But Oulton Park is behind us now, and that is done and dusted. I will now go through my 5 drivers to watch for Knockhill. Not going to go through my season predictions every time because I don't think much has changed in that now. But we'll go through my top 5 drivers to watch for Knockhill. So my 5 drivers to watch for this weekend are: number 1, Stephen Jelly. Goes into the weekend with only 9 kilograms of weight on his car. It's a track that Jelly's always gone well at. He's gone well there in the 1 series the last couple of years. And now going in the 3 series, did really well on Park. I think he should go really well there. Yeah, he's had a few. That 1 series has not been great. He's been pulling a few results out the bag with it. So I think with the 3 series behind him now, he's got quite used to it. I think he should go pretty well. Number 2, I'm going to go with Rory Butcher. I think I've gone with him a few times now. I'm going to go with him again because this is basically his home track. He knows it like the back of his hand. The Toyota went better at Oulton Park than it has at other tracks so far. So Butcher seems to be on top of the Toyota. He knows the track very well, and he goes there quite light. So I think he will go pretty quick there. I'm also going to go with Aidan Muffet, another rear-wheel drive car on a rear-wheel drive track. Makes sense, has no weight, is only 11th in the championship. Should go into Knockhill with quite a lot of confidence after Oulton Park. I can see him picking up some good results and some good points in there. I'm going to go championship leader and current reigning champion Ash Sutton. Does normally go well here, especially on a rear-wheel drive track. Had a poor weekend at Oulton Park, so he'll be determined to do well. I think he should do well here. Depends on qualifying now, I suppose, but tends to be quick off the start. And if it rains, like it quite often can do up in Scotland, I think he will have a super weekend. He'll go well in the dry, I think. But I think this will be a weekend where he'll keep himself out of trouble and he'll be able to pick cars off to plenty of overtaking places at Knockhill. And finally, I'll go with Jake Hill. Always seems to go well at Knockhill. 4th in the championship, so not too much weight. And it is. Ford is one of the more powerful cars, especially for the front wheel drive cars, so I think he should go well at Knockhill. He's had a few good points. He got a win there in 2019 in the Audi, went pretty well in the Honda FK2 last year as well. So any driver can keep himself out of trouble will do well, I think. There are a few drivers I could have put in there, taking to the dust, don't recover quite well. I'd go for any of the rear wheel drive cars, pretty much, but they're the ones I think will go well. Be interesting to see how the Cooper goes there. Obviously, it hasn't been there before. Team Hard and Jack Off haven't had great weekends there. No, Jack's only ever had 1 podium, which is for most tracks is quite surprising. That was back in a rear wheel drive car as well. So I think the Coopers could quite struggle going into that. Well, and girls, thank you for joining me for today's video. Let's just hope for some clean racing. I've said that quite a few times now, but we want close racing. No, we don't mind a little bit of scraping stuff, but we don't want it to be drivers getting fired off too much, and it can be quite dangerous if it happens at Knockhill, and it will be even more if it gets wet. But let's just hope it is close, competitive, and entertaining racing without being too dangerous. But everyone else, thank you for joining me for today's video. Let's hope for some good racing. And I'll see you for my next video before the Thruxton race. See you then.